Hi everyone, I'm your teacher, but also the student. Learning IRHSP, also known as Irresistible Heat Set paints. Shall we begin? The process of me actually doing them starts tomorrow. And today we are learning the paperwork that Irresistible Company sent me, along with some samples. But I also bought my backup supplies for when I run out of samples. I'm buying my products from Mott and Guido in the UK, as I am in Canada. Irresistible Heat Set paints were created because there was a need to continue keeping up with the demands of the reborn paint market. We have worked for a long time to come up with the perfect recipe for both our colors and our mediums. Best of all, our IRHSP paints and mediums are compatible with Genesis paints, whether mixing them together or using our mediums with their colors or vice versa. For those of you who do not know, heat set artists have been using Genesis heat set paints for a long time. But Genesis heat set paints are no longer available, unless you can find someone who's selling them, they're no longer being made. So everyone was panicking, and it seems that there are a few new heat set brands, but to my looking into it and checking on it, most people that I have seen, including in my artist group, are using Irresistible's heat set paints, which is IRHSP. The other ones I've been seeing is the BC paints by Beatrice and Gemini. But to me, I find that the IRHSP for Irresistible Reborn Heat Set paints are being the most used, including my favorite artist, Sylvia Creations, also known as Sylvia Esquire. Okay, so we get back to the paperwork. Our paints and mediums also work great with air dry paint systems, which is great because I'm an air dry artist, but ultimately for them to set and cure properly. They will require heat to make them permanent. So you do have to bake them in a new wave. You can get a new wave oven that you can put outside, which is the safest way to do it. It's a little tabletop oven, and you can make them in there. Some people use full-size ovens in their garage, but you can't cook food in the same oven you're baking the vinyl in. They will I already said that. It was essential to us that we come up with a versatile product so that everyone can continue to use their Genesis heat set paints and slowly move forward into the next world of Irresistible heat set paints. IRHSP stands for Irresistible Heat Set Paints. And mediums are made in high quality industrial materials. IRHSPs can be diluted with our thinning medium or solvents. So this is their thinning medium called Liquithin, and it is non-toxic. But you could add like paint thinner solvents and kind of see how that goes. But to me, the Liquithin is the best way to go. These paints have an extremely, listen good, because this is what I like. They have an extremely high UV, which is ultraviolet, which is the light, if you don't know, sunlight, resistant, and will not fade. Let's say that again. Extremely high UV resistance and will not fade. You bought me right there. That's all you had to say. Our formulas were tested for over 4 to 5 years before releasing to the public for steadfastness, durability, and longevity, which means long lasting, and that it stays on, and that it doesn't smudge easily, and all of that stuff. We have a lot of questions as to whether our matte varnish can be considered a sealer. The answer is yes, but all varnishes are harder than mediums in general. It is important to note that if you plan to root ahead, keep in mind that a better solution for sealing any area where you plan to root the top of the head or eyebrows, you can use IR HSP thinning medium as a sealant. Why did I buy varnish? I should have read this before I bought varnish. Well, she sent me varnish. Okay. This will prevent cracking or problems when inserting a needle into the area. We are not saying you cannot use IR HSP matte varnish on a head that will be rooted, but please keep in mind that with all varnishes, being that varnish is a harder medium than thinning, this can happen. Now, I've never had this problem because I'm an air dry artist. But when you're a heat set artist and you're using that varnish, and when it's heated to the head, it's harder than on air dry. So when you're putting a needle in there, there is a chance of the varnish cracking. So what she's saying is that you can use liquid thin as a sealer for your work instead of using the varnish on the head. But if you want to use the varnish on the face and stuff like that, you can do that. Yes, this is a filter. Okay. That I did not know that. That's good information. Thank you. Okay. We know you will enjoy using them and will be impressed with how easily they apply, thus creating the perfect finished product. We will continue to add to our product line often and look forward to the positive feedback from artists. Irresistible Heat Set Paint, aka IRHSP, is made in the USA and shipped direct from our warehouse in Rockford, Illinois. In addition, we have a long list of worldwide dealers that you can see at www.irhsp.com. If you don't know how to spell com, it's C-O-M. Not C-A-L-M, C-O-M. Bit of a comedian, I apologize. Heat set paints. Okay, here we go. Whew, nervous. Directions. Irresistible Heat Set Paints, IR HSP, were designed to cure with heat. That doesn't mean put them outside when it's 90 degrees out, okay? IR HSP can be used with other heat set paints, including, but not limited to, it doesn't say that, I added that, Genesis. And when paired together, because of the creamy nature of IR HSP paints, the pigments will blend perfectly. IR HSP paints can create a translucent appearance, but can easily be darkened by adding more pigment. You guys all know how I like my almost transparent layers for the skin. Using IR HSP mediums or solvents to thin, heat to 265 degrees Fahrenheit. And for us Canadians who go by Celsius, I'm not going to mention any names, That's 129 Celsius. And heat for 10 to 15 minutes. Especially if you're using Liquifit. Remove your vinyl from the oven and allow it to cool fully before handling and applying more layers. Okay. Some artists say you shouldn't touch them until they cool down. So one of the safest things to do is to unhook the top of the New Wave oven and let it cool naturally, making sure the oven making sure the oven is turned off. Or you can use gloves to pull out the kit and put it to the side. But some are suggesting that you should let it cool down before touching it. But you have to make sure your oven's off and that the lid is popped off. Okay? But she's saying here that you can actually physically remove them out of the oven. But you cannot add another layer until they're cooled down, or you won't get an even baking. Okay. This is crucial. Oh, sorry. Allow it to cool fully before handling primer. The paint will not cure unless it reaches 265 Fahrenheit or 130 Celsius. This is crucial for the success of IRHSP heat set paints. If you choose to use a heat gun, I don't think you should do that. That sounds toxic. Be careful not to overheat the vinyl. Store your IRSHPs at room temperature. Our paints will never dry out. Stir well before use, especially if they have been sitting over time. People. I highly suggest you don't sit there with a heat gun and heat vinyl, because you will be inhaling that. Whether you're using a mask or not, just put it in the oven where it's baking away from you. I know it takes extra work, but just do it. I won't use a heat gun. No, thank you. To each their own. Primer. Irresistible Heat Set Paints, IRHSP. Primer is a brand new formula that is odorless and non-solvent, based used prior to painting to help smooth out the surface of the vinyl. IRHSP primer will give you a transparent layer on the surface, helping to give the vinyl some texture, so the paint adheres evenly, filling it even the smallest of holes in the vinyl. IRHSP primer is easily applied by brushing on a thin layer onto the vinyl. You will love the consistency and having fun being creative with this product to make sure you are happy with the end result. Directions. So far, I'm good. So far, I got it. Directions. After washing your vinyl, brush the primer onto your surface and pounce well with a sponge. If you don't want to use it right out of the jar, use a very small amount of IRHSP thinning or any solvent to help the primer flow, but it is not necessary. Then bake it to set the primer. Once you're satisfied, you can begin using your washes to build the layers, which will be smooth and even throughout and will adhere perfectly. Make sure you start with a small amount. because using too much will not allow the paint to dry, making it soft and tacky. Heat your oven to 265 Fahrenheit or 130 Celsius, just like the IRHSP colors, and bake for 10 to 15 minutes. Do not heat above 350. Did you get that? Do not heat above 350. 265 is recommended. All of our IRHSP mediums are very efficient to use sparingly. You can always add more. Here's the one I saw that it cut out for a minute. Now here's the one I'm most nervous about. Thinning medium. What's wrong with my eyelash? Fluttering. Irresistible Heat Set Paint, IRHSP, thinning medium is a brand new formula that is odorless and non-solvent, used to thin the paint without loss of color depth. In addition, it can be used as a sealer for anywhere you will root. When using this product throughout the painting process, each time you use it, you are ultimately sealing that layer. This is not to be confused with IRHSP. Matte. Matte is a varnish, not a sealer. Did you get that? Matte is a varnish, not a sealer. Completely opposite. Irresistible Heat Set Thinning Medium will not water down the paint. It will just make it easier to use and more efficient when mixing it with your IRHSP paints or other mediums. You know what? And this is probably why they're not having fading issues. Because when we water down our paints, it loses its strength against light. So that is probably why, because she's saying here that we're not watering it down. Well, you're not using water, you're using a thinning solution. But the point is that her thinning solution, liquid thin, will not bring down the levels of the paint. Okay, it will just make it easier to use and more efficient when mixing it with your IRHSP paints or other mediums. Do not exceed 2 parts medium to 3 parts paint, or the paint might become too transparent, so you want to add it very slowly. You can mix this product with any of our other IRHSP mediums to achieve the exact consistency of the final product you wish to apply. This product is compatible with any heat set paint products. Directions. After heat setting the paint, let it cool before applying the next layer. Stirring well. Mix some IRHSP thinning medium into the paint or medium to make it more fluid. Heat your oven to 265 Fahrenheit or 130 Celsius and bake for 10 to 15 minutes. Do not exceed 2 parts thinning medium to 3 parts paint, or the paint might become too transparent. So make sure you have less thinning medium than paint to the paint ratio. That's what she's saying. See, do not exceed 2 parts thinning medium to 3 parts paint, or the paint might become too transparent. So what you want to do is you just want to add it very slowly. That's what I do when I do silicone. When I add paint thinner to my silicone, the Novox, I add it very small amounts at a time so it doesn't thin the silicone too much. Here we go. Thick medium. Okay. Irresistible Heat Set Paints, IRHSP. Thick Medium is a brand new formula that is odorless and non-solvent based, used to thicken paint while maintaining the same body. IRHSP Thick Medium can be used to make transparent washes by tinting the thick medium. The thick medium will give you a good layer of paint and the consistency you need. If you like to paint with a thinner consistency, you can add a small amount of thinning to your mixture. You can mix this product with any other IRHSP mediums to achieve the exact consistency you wish to apply. IRHSP Thick Medium functions as a color extender. So any of you that do use the thick medium, I'm curious as to what you like about it. I'm used to doing my layers thin, so that's what I'm going to stick with. But for those of you that are using it, I'm curious of what you like about it. And it is compatible with any heat set paint products. Directions. Add a small amount of IRHSP Thick Medium to your paint. Stir well. Do not exceed 40% of medium to the paint. Using more than this will not allow the paint to cure. Heat to 265 degrees, just like the IRHSP colors, and bake for 10 to 15 minutes. Do not heat above 350 Fahrenheit. All of our IRHSP mediums are very efficient, so use sparingly. It means don't overuse it. You can always add more. And that's what I'm saying. Like when I do silicone, I add little bits at a time, little bits at a time. It's kind of like when I add water to my air dry paints. You know, you want to add little bits at a time, like so you're not making it too thin where the color is not going to be there, or it'll crack because it's way too thin. Satin varnish. IRHSP Satin Varnish is a brand new formula that, when applied over the desired paint surface, creates a smooth, semi-gloss satin finish. You can mix this product with any of our other IRHSP mediums to achieve what you are looking for. Directions for satin varnish. After heat setting the paint, let it cool fully before applying the satin varnish for the optimal result. Mix some IRHSP satin with a small amount of either IRHSP thinning or solvent. Stir well to make it more fluid. Using a wide brush, apply one thin coat of the satin varnish evenly over the paint. Counts well, making sure to leave no whites. If heat oven to 265 Fahrenheit or 130 Celsius, and bake for 10 to 15 minutes. Do not heat above 350 Fahrenheit. You can bake IRHSP satin as many times as needed, but it is essential that it is baked and cured fully. Matte varnish. Go. Irresistible Heat Set Paint, IRHSP. Matte varnish is a brand new formula that, when applied over the desired paint surface, creates a smooth matte finish. It will leave a slight texture that can be adjusted by using either a thicker mix with it or using it right from the jar. As with all of our mediums and varnishes, with each coat, you are sealing your work every time you use it. And they are talking about Liquid Thin. IRHSP matte is best used to create a very matte surface. You can mix it with any of our other IRHSP products. If you plan to root the head, although not necessary, consider using the IRHSP matte for everywhere except the top of the head that is being rooted. It doesn't say it here, but they did mention earlier about if you're rooting eyebrows as well. To seal the head before rooting, we suggest using our IRHSP thinning, which is Liquid Thin. In the artist world, it is known that varnishes are harder than mediums. So as to avoid cracking or white pin dots when inserting the needles, leave the IRHSP matte off this area and seal it with thinning or any sealant of your choosing. And I am going to take their advice on that because I'm paranoid about the cracking. For optimum results, we suggest mixing it with a very small amount of either IRHSP thinning or a solvent. You can use it right out of the jar, but stir well. That's in all caps. Stir well. And make sure it is fluid and flows before applying. Make sure to pounce it very well so you don't see any whites. And make sure to get it in all of the crevices and creases without leaving any residue. Let it flash off for a few minutes before baking. This product is compatible with any heat set paint products, including Genesis. You will love the new consistency and have fun being creative with this product to make sure you are happy with the end result. Ultimately, it leaves a beautiful matte finish that is very smooth. Directions. For matte varnish, after heat setting the paint, let it cook fully before applying the matte varnish. For the optimal results, there's that word again, mix some IRHSP matte with a small amount of either IRHSP thinning, Liquid Thin, or a solvent. You can use it right out of the jar, but stir well and make sure it is fluid enough to flow. Using a wide brush, apply one thin coat of matte varnish, spreading evenly over the paint. Pounce well. Make sure to leave no white residue in the creases. Heat oven to 265 degrees Fahrenheit, just like the IRHSP colors, and bake for 10 to 15 minutes. Do not heat above 350. You can bake IRHSP matte as many times as needed, but it is essential that it is baked properly so it is fully cured. And we are going on a commercial break. Be back in a moment. What?
You want to have chicken strips? I'm making us hash browns.
I don't care what you make. I'm teaching.
Okay, I just needed to know what you wanted.
Commercial break is over. That'll be cut out of my YouTube video. That's why I said that. Okay. And we are back. Dewy Effect Medium. Irresistible Heat Set Paints, IRHSP, Dewy Effect Medium, is a brand new formula that is odorless and non-solvent. Based used to create a lifelike and glowing texture on the surface of the skin. IRHSP Dewy Effect Medium helps to give a realistic skin effect by simply applying it with a brush and then pouncing it on the vinyl. The Dewy Effect Medium will give you a transparent layer on the surface with the appearance that there is depth and glowing texture on the skin. The surface will appear dewy if used properly, but it will not be sticky once completely cured. Directions. Add a small amount of your Irresistible Heat Set Dewy Effect Medium with a brush to the top of the surface/skin and pounce. If you want, you can mix it with a small amount of thinning medium or solvent for an even more transparent look. Heat to 265 degrees and bake for 10 to 15 minutes, just like the IRHSP colors. Do not heat above 350 Fahrenheit. Okay. Oh wait, just another page. Pore texture. Never done this before. An air dry. Irresistible Heat Set Paint, IRHSP, Pore Texture is a brand new formula that is odorless and non-solvent, based used to create a porous effect on the surface of the skin. IRHSP Pore Texture helps to give a realistic skin effect by simply applying it with a textured sponge and pouncing it on the vinyl. The pore texture will give you a matte layer on the surface with the appearance that there is depth and pores on the surface. With the appearance, that there is depth and pores on the skin. It will be up to you if you want to add a layer of IRHSP matte or satin varnish to complete your doll. But as with all of our varnishes, your doll is already sealed with each layer you apply. Use sparingly and make sure to brush or clean out any white residue left behind in the creases. If the surface needs more texture, repeat the same process. Pore texture is a thicker medium, and there should be no residue or white left anywhere, especially in the creases. Directions. After heat setting the paint, let it cool fully before applying the pore texture. For optimal results, apply IRHSP pore texture to a textured sponge and pounce on the surface. We recommend using thinning or solvent if you want to lessen the texture. Heat your oven to 265 Fahrenheit or 130 Celsius and bake for 10 to 15 minutes. Do not heat above 350 Fahrenheit. Okay, this is the one I'm most nervous about. Using it properly. Liquid thin. So in air dry, I use water. In heat set, I'm going to use liquid thin. This revolutionary product was created to replace the use of chemical solvents, meaning toxic. Although liquid thin is a replacement for solvents, it is used very differently. Very is in all caps. It is not meant to be a watery liquid when using, and you do not need to use a lot at all. That's going to be hard getting used to when I use water on air dry. The key with liquid thin is less is more. If you keep this in mind, you will find it's easy to use and the transition will be much easier. Long gone are the days when we need multiple watery layers to build our depth and color layers. Liquid thin will build your layers much faster. Oh, I like this. And you will need far less layers to achieve the same depth as you did with multiple layers using a chemical. Watery solvent. Liquid thin makes paint flow, but it may also make the color more transparent and creates lovely washes, but can be used to make darker and more pigmented layers, such as far as hair painting or fantasy dolls. Liquid thin is perfect for doll details, as it is a very controlled consistency, meaning not watery and beady, and does not leave messy creases or residue behind when pouncing, and that's what I like. Nice and smooth. If using liquid thin throughout your painting process, when it comes time to bake, we suggest baking it for a few more minutes than if you are not using it. We have changed our recommended baking times across the board, but especially when using liquid thin. You'll need to make sure you bake for at least 10 to 15 minutes, turning your vinyl halfway through the baking cycle. And that's what I wondered about. If they're in the new wave oven and this side of the arm is down, how does that bake? So that kind of explained that to me. So yeah, make sure you turn them over. I don't think it, or the head, I don't know about the head, because when it bakes from down. So this may be more of an issue for limbs. Turning a vinyl halfway through the baking. This will ensure that the paint is fully cured and will not be tacky. When it dries, if it feels tacky at all, it is not 100% cured. And you can bake it for a few more minutes. This will not hurt the vinyl. I like to always point out that the first few minutes that an oven is on, it will not reach its full baking temperature for 3 to 4 minutes. Therefore, you are only baking at full temp in a 10-minute cycle for 6 minutes. Being that all ovens are different, this is something that needs to be kept in mind. Okay. And there you have it, folks. That is the information that the company Irrisistibles sent me with the samples. So